Voice of Business presented by the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce, and alive in the studio with us from DetecTogether, Sandy Danault, and Sandy is the Director of Programs and Partnerships. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having us. Good morning, Hank. How are you?
Yeah, good. Let's talk a little bit about DetecTogether. You've been on the show before. DetecTogether has, but give us a quick overview of the work that you do.
Absolutely. Well, we started 15 years ago. Jim and Nancy Coughlin founded our organization because they had some significant losses in friends and community members, and they realized that there was a gap in healthcare, and that gap was understanding the power of early detection. Approximately 50% of cancers are diagnosed in the late stages. And I know we can't see this on radio, but you can see on a graph that I have that looking at early stage diagnosis versus late stage diagnosis is incredible. So for instance, a stage 1 diagnosis in breast cancer, you have a 99% survival rate versus a stage 4 diagnosis at 29%. And so early stage diagnosis is critical. So what we do is we teach people about the power of early detection and how to do it. We give them an action plan. So it's not just here, this is what you should do. We say, here, we have 3 simple steps for you to follow, and we teach you how to follow them so that you can be an active partner in your healthcare.
You know, it's interesting as I'm looking at the graph and these different kinds of cancer, Sandy. Certainly, I am of the age where I have been having a colonoscopy, several times now in my life. Listen, guys, we all know that when we go in for our annual physical, their doctor is checking our prostate. But, for some of these others, I don't even, like bladder cancer. I mean, is there even a way for me to try and detect that earlier, to have an early screening?
That's a great question. So there's about 200 types of cancer that we know of, we'll say. And there are 4 recommended screenings by the CDC. That's for lung cancer, colon cancer, so the great colonoscopy, the best sleep you'll ever have. So mammogram, pap smear, colonoscopy, and lung scans for people who are heavy smokers or have high-risk occupations like firefighters. And so those are the 4 recommended CDC screenings. Other than that, somewhere in the ballpark of about 86% of screenings are found by the patient themselves. And the way they do that is through recognition of really subtle and persistent symptoms that don't take you out of the game, but it's enough to make you recognize that that's not your great health.
Wow, that's rough. So that's where we kind of come in with the 50% of cancers that are detected at this advanced stage. It's right in the name, what does DetecTogether do? How do you kind of help us with that?
Great question. So we have a very simple roadmap. It's not simplistic, but it's simple. It's 3 steps. Step 1 is know you're great. And even everybody corrects us on social media. That's not grammatically correct. But in fact, it is, because what we want you to do is know your great health. So you need to baseline it, and there's a lot of different ways that we teach you during our presentations and in our online learning what knowing your great health means. Step 2 is use the 2-week rule. So if you've noticed a sign or a symptom, and we'll talk about that in a second, and it lasts for longer than 2 weeks, then it's time to act. Now we have an action plan. And step 3 is share with your doctor, which I was a teacher in Worcester for 14 years. All of my students got this education. Everybody with a pulse that I know gets this education. And step 3 is always the hardest. How do you share with your doctor? And so we talk about how to work collaboratively with your medical care provider and learn to advocate for yourself in a positive way. So come armed with knowledge, have the ability to have conversations, and understand that your doctors are people too. And they have 7 minutes on average to get an appointment done, right? So you need to come in prepared and ready to act. And so we talk a lot about that in our education and our training.
I got to tell you, Sandy, that sort of surprises me. I would think that the easiest thing would be I'm going to tell my doctor, what's going on with you? Well, I've got this or I've got that or this hasn't been feeling exactly right. Is it that I'll put it, I don't know, I feel like this maybe is even more guys. The guys go in and go, no, I feel fine. Even though they got the following 10 symptoms.
Yeah, right. They got bumps and lumps pumping out of them. They're like, no, this is fine. I can rub some dirt on it. I'll be good. Yeah. I think we'll beat up guys a little bit. But yeah, I mean, oftentimes we've been taught, I came from an athletic world where, we told people to rub some dirt on it, suck it up, buttercup, you're going to be fine. So think about what a cancer symptom would even look like. So do you think that you would recognize the most common cancer symptom?
You know what I hate to say, after having done this for so many years, I feel like I should know. What is the most common?
So with 200 cancers, you can imagine the list, right? I can't even imagine who would be able to remember all of those symptoms. And so what we say, instead of thinking of one particular symptom, it's a subtle and persistent health change that lasts for 2 weeks or more. And so that could be heartburn, that could be a headache, it could be a pain in a place that you just can't get rid of it. And does that mean if those things happen for 2 weeks or more that you have cancer? Not necessarily, but it means your body's saying, hey, something's up and I need some help. And when we talk to physicians, we have a lot of medical advisors that we work with, and when we talk to them, they say to us, if you can get somebody to come in once they feel the symptom and it's lasted for 2 weeks, then that is the work we need to do, because now we can address it early. We can attack it early before it becomes incredibly involved and possibly invasive treatments.
Boy, the other thing that you said that surprised, well, it doesn't surprise me, but I mean, how do we sort of overcome it, is that we don't teach it. And is this something that should be in the schools? Well,
Worcester Public Schools, it has, there's several teachers that are using this, and we're working towards becoming really a strong member of the health education community at the high school level.
Oh, that's great.
And we've been in schools across Massachusetts who adopt 3 Steps Detect as part of their curriculum. So 3 avenues of education that we work with are really anybody with a pulse, but young adults, which is where this started. Jim and Nancy Coughlin had a friend that lost their son, and then the dad actually lost his life as well. And so young adults is who we focused on as first. We have a full curriculum that we offer to teachers for free and say, here, we'll come and help you teach it, or you can teach it however it works best for you and your students. Firefighters obviously is a huge role. 40% of us are going to be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime. Firefighters have a 9% greater risk and a 14% greater risk of dying from that diagnosis. So we really focus on firefighters heavily across the country. And then, of course, we have a workplace program. So we go into companies that have employee wellness programs, and we teach this as well. So getting this information out there and getting it as a part of school, so you start early, right? When you develop a skill as a young person, you bring it with you through life. And so that's a critical component.
Teachers, others who want to learn more, what's the best place for them to go?
They can go to our website, DetecTogether.org. They can email us, info@DetecTogether.org, and get in touch with us that way. And we're happy to talk to anybody who wants to bring this curriculum coast to coast. Jim Coughlin always said he wants to get to the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, we got there. We've been to Honolulu, but we got to go back. So anybody who wants it, we're in.
Sandy, doing fantastic work, and I know that there are many stories over that 15 years where you've really made a difference and really saved lives.
For sure. Thank you so much. We're proud to do it.
We appreciate your coming by. Voice of Business. It's heard every Monday through Friday at this time on the Radio Worcester Network.